Welcome to Blue Talks.
Hi.
Hi.
Come on.
Hi.
There we go. That's a little better. No music today. Why? Really important reason. I want to be able to engage with you right away. So I'm going to get you to stand up. Everybody that's been here for a while knew this was going to happen anyway. Come on. Everybody's got to stand up for a moment. I want you to look around the room. Just stretch out a little bit. Look around the room. Now, I'm going to give you some homework, and it has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about, but it's the most important thing that you can do in your life. Look around the room and find somebody you don't know. Okay? You have a mission when I'm done talking. When I'm done talking, Rod, you got to wait. You got to wait, brother. To go over and say hi and engage for 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes. Go say hi, learn a little bit about them, what they do professionally, what they're gunning for in life, etc. After all, the whole day is engineered around what? Business, life, and the universe. And what a wasted opportunity if you didn't introduce yourself to at least one person you didn't know. Now, it has everything to do with what I'm going to say today. Why? Go ahead and sit down. Go ahead and sit down. I think I'm within my purview. There we go. Good. Want to make sure that I got everything on the floor working the way it's supposed to. Business is no tougher than the life you are living right now. Who believes business is pretty easy? Who believes that their professional part of their life is pretty easy? Who believes child rearing is pretty easy? Who believes being married or in a committed relationship is easy? Who believes that everything in life is as easy as you choose to make it? We've heard conversations about happiness today. We've heard conversations about neurolinguistics, neuroscience, neuroprogramming. We've heard all these disparate conversations, all these constituent bits and pieces that make us up as human beings and what really sets us apart, but yet connects all of us together. It's the experience of being alive. Business is an essential part. Who here believes that they probably work too much? Or maybe you're blessed and you're semi-retired or retired, but who thinks they work too much? Who here has regrets about the little amount of time or maybe not the quality of time with their own family and children, etc. Right? Everybody's kind of sitting here and starting a little more uncomfortable, a little less easy to answer some of these questions. Why? It's the challenge in the nature of life and the nature of business to ask ourselves tough questions. To put ourselves in a place that's uncomfortable. I'm going to give you some lessons that I only use to talk to people in business, but are life applicable. You're going to see how they all work very, very shortly, okay? So I'm going to give you one more piece of homework at the moment. If you have a notepad or you have your cell phone, and if it's your cell phone, I'm going to ask you to do something really important. I'm going to ask you to take your cell phone out. I'm going to ask you to open up, if you got an iPhone, you're going to open up iMessage, and if you're on an Android, sucks to be you. You're going to open up a text message, and you're going to text yourself. And this is what the homework is. So you can write it down or you can type it to yourself. Okay? You ready? It's easy. What are you going to type to yourself in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years that would make you proud? That would make you look back on the message you are writing today in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, or perhaps you're blessed with a great deal of longevity and a great deal more to do professionally. And what would that message be to you in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years that you would be proud to read? This is an important distinction for us in business and in life, to be able to look back on what we have done and be proud of what we accomplished. So in life and in your business, after all, we're here at Blue Talks, Business, Life, and Universe. impact on the universe globally. Life, what we do. Now, here's an important one for you. What you do with your life and what you accomplish professionally impacts all of those. Who believes that the more you create, the more you have to offer to other people in life? Who here believes that the more you create, the more you have to offer back to the universe? Interesting. So why is that notion so separate in our brains when it comes to things like money and time, as opposed to the way we feel about how we make other people feel? The satisfaction we get from a job well done. The care and attention that we put into other people, and yet feel that we're somehow neglecting our own family, our own children, our own parents, our own grandparents, our own grandchildren. Because our brain separates these things into these lovely little cubicles or boxes. And again, we hear about neuroscience earlier today. What's funny is that they are all the same. We only have a handful of facets in life. We have a relationship with self. We have a relationship with others. And then we have the ripples that we create that affect the outside world. What is that? Going off into the universe. That is the energy that comes from here and engages with other people and then moves outward from us to whatever impact that's going to create. So, Mitch, doesn't sound like an awful lot like business yet, and your shirt says Savage Business, and when are you going to get to the business stuff? Come on, we heard a lot of this other crap. Okay. If I do something today and it affects one of you, and you therefore go out and have an effect on somebody else, does it sound like that's creating ripples, and it's starting to take whatever that energy exchange, whatever that effort exchange is, and creating ripples and impact. So here's a business lesson for you first, because this has to do with the maturity we do not have when it governs how we view money. Okay? For a change, I'm actually carrying cash. And if you guys decide you want to rob me, my wallet's at the back of the room for a moment, so go nuts, right? But for a change, I carry cash because most of the time, I actually prefer a digital environment. I really do. To my mind, it's faster, but I got cash. So if I go get my wallet right now and I pull out $50 and I give it to one of you, map the amount of impact and ripple that $50 is going to have in the next 7 days. You know, statistically, if I give one of you $50, that $50 is going to change hands in the next 7 days 19 times. $50 will create $50 in economic impact 19 times. Add one more, make it a 20. How much is that? It's $1,000 of economic impact with one orange Canadian $50 bill. Think about that. That's staggering. Now, we essentially get the same level of impact digitally, but there's something in the ritual of exchanging that bill for a good or service that changes the way we engage and interact with each other the moment I hand that bill to you. There's nothing more to it than a $50 bill. To some people in the room, they could use $50 right now. To others, And then there's a lot of us somewhere in the middle where we don't need $50, but it would certainly be nice to have another $50. You know, in fact, I'm talking about the mythical $50 bill right now. I wouldn't mind another one on top of that stack, right? Simply for how much better I would feel stacking another one on top of the others that are there in that funny little bundle of money, right? So why is that important when it comes to our essential understanding of business, life, and the universe? The same thing happens, the same impact is created when we take anything that we do and we engage with other people. If the value of the impact of what we engage with them on is enough, it will reciprocate by them going out and doing the same with others. So if you take the concept of $50 for a moment and exchange that with one other person and realize that you could create $1,000 in impact in other people's economic lives, then what's it going to take to realize the output of the product or service or commodity in other words, your business, what value can you do to get it to equate to 18 or 19 or 20 times its impact than giving it to one person one time? What happens when you engage with another human being on a social level if every time you give them what? Your time, you choose to create an impact that replicates itself 18 or 19 or 20 times and ripples out at that point to everybody else? What created impact do you have in your intimate relationship when you choose to take that same energy and create that impact in somebody that you profess to love? What happens when they replicate that 18 or 19 or 20 times? Now, here's the tough one: business, life, and the universe. I've only talked about money and I've talked about time. Why have I only talked about these two things? One of them is the largest depreciating asset we have in business and in life. And the other's abundance is only contingent on the value of what you contribute to other people. And that limit is limitless. I only have 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. I'm 50 years old. Statistically, if I live to the median age of men in Canada, 78.9 years, I have 52 weeks times 28 years. I have 52 Saturdays times 28 years. I have 52 Mondays times 28 years left. So if I'm going to wake up in the morning and do something contributively or transactionally to put another $50 in my pocket to therefore take it and spend it somewhere, doesn't it behoove me to understand the value of what I'm taking and contributing in exchange for somebody else's $50? Right? It really bears for me to think about what value I am taking and bundling together so that I give to somebody else in the depreciating asset, my time, in favor of the limitless asset, money. Why should you worry about time and money? They are the only things that will be left over at the end of the day. If you spend one right to get the other. If you spend one right to get the other, then how many impacts did you create when you exchange them? People are like, oh, you got to stop exchanging time for money. Bullshit. You have to get better at creating a higher order of value for the money that you get, for the time that is contributed, so that you can choose when to spend the time, on who you will choose to spend it with. If you take that time and you increase the value of it in a way that raises the value of the money, guess what you do? You create found time. Now, time is more yours to master and use in those other areas where the contribution is not the almighty dollar, but the contributive impact that you can give to other people, like relationship with your children or your grandchildren, relationship with your parents or your grandparents, relationship with your friends. Who here has a really good friend? Who here has a great friend? Who here has realized in the nature of that great friendship that it's very similar to just being married? You have social disputes and you have intimate moments and you create your own found language, etc. Guess what happened? You contributed a certain value of your time to an exceptionally high level to do what? Enrich another person's life. Yes, they made you feel pretty good, but guess what? When we talk about that for a moment, the amount of input that goes into your intimate relationship, in other words, the person that you're willing to take your clothes off for, and the amount of effort that you put into somebody who is, quote unquote, one of your best friends, is very similar outside of the sex. It really is. The same dopamine and neurotransmitters are being fired when the relationship starts up. The need to have the other person make me feel pretty good, but then feel compelled to make them feel pretty good, is always there. And what happens over time inside of really good friendships is the same as we have in our intimate relationships. We trade off the excitement early on in the relationship for the familiarity because we know what we're going to get, and it still makes us feel good. So when you take that for a moment, and I've done something very deliberate to the audience here. I've done something very deliberate to all of you, and whoever's watching there in the future, I've done something very deliberate. I've started to divide, again, the thinking in our head that comes with relationships and money and time. Instead of taking it all and sucking it all in the middle, you're like, yeah, I get it. If I value my time and my money a little better, then I can get more of one thing for the other, and then I could give that to other people. I started to divide that thinking in your brain for a moment. Why? Because that's just what we do as human beings. That my intimate relationship I will sacrifice in favor of my pursuit of the almighty dollar, so I'm going to put more effort into these fine people over here because they're going to pay me, so when I don't have enough left of me to come away, but at least I have money, I can use the money to flip at these people over here. And if that's not enough over here, I'll come over here and feel justified in saying to these people over here, listen, I worked my ass off for you, and look at everything that I have. Be happy with the thing that I've given you. But wait, I've got to run back over here again. Please, here's the thing I've got. Give me more money. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to run back over here and I'm going to fling it at them again. Guess what? It doesn't matter where you contributively put your time in. Why? Because you're only putting your time in those areas that you feel like you have to scramble back and forth instead of once more attributing what the maximum value is, which is time and money. Money's got limitless. Time is depreciating asset. Every second that you listen to me talk is another second that's ticked by in your life that you will never have again. So hopefully one would expect the contributive value of what I'm talking to you about right now is increased enough in your head. You leave and go, you made a lot of good points. Let's get to the final points, because remember I had you open up that text window or bring up your notebook so that you can start some homework to yourself. Money is limitless. The expression money is limitless, you must ground in your brain, because the only thing that is limited is your perception of the value of what you contribute to other people. When you realize that just $50 can contribute 19 times its worth to the outside world in a moment, what can you do so you can get that worth to come back to you, right? Money's limitless. And then at that point, what do you contribute to other people that allows you to express an increase in that value so that the amount of time you put in is there? So write down money is limitless. Write down, this is what I make right now. And write down, this is what I expect to make next. And then give it a time frame. Why? Because you're only going to have time, and only so much of it, to do what? Contribute to the value of the money you're going to put into your pocket so that you can do what? Spend it. Next, and I want this to be quick so you're forced to really type furiously or write very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. What is the maximum value of your time? I will say that again. What is the maximum value of your time? Not what's the dollar that's attached to it. What is the maximum value of your time? So here's the tough part of the homework. The time's the finite one. Money is limitless. So what is the maximum value of your time? How many places then, if you realize that it is a limited resource to work with, how many places should you only be committing your life to where you're going to spend time doing things? It's a little abstract, so I'll narrow it down. When we consider the maximum value of our time, how many different places are we willing to compromise ourselves in favor of giving people time? Well, Mitch, I have to spend time to make money. That's right. Okay. So if I have to spend time to make money, there's one, right? If I've got decent personal, social, or intimate relationships that I have to maintain, there's two, right? If I have people that I'm mentoring or rearing, that could be, let's say, children, or people that are customers or clients, or people that are further back down the hill than you are, and you want to help them get up to where you're at, right? That's number three, you know? You might have something that you merely do for the pleasure of yourself and contributes to your own well-being. That's number four, right? So, well, Mitch, that doesn't sound like a lot of fingers. Do you know how many different things I'm in? I don't care. I don't care. I have a sacred duty to care for my wife. That's number one. I have an unbelievably important duty to raise 2 daughters to adulthood and understand their own value in this world. That's number 2. I have 2 full-grown men that are my sons, and I have to continue to guide them as men. That's number 3. There's only one finger for number 4, and that's make money with the businesses I've got. Notice the word businesses. Mitch, don't you have so many different things? I do. Guess what? The contributive value of the time that I put in is so similar amongst them, it doesn't matter what the businesses are. I only perform a certain number of functions in those businesses. Otherwise, I don't do it. So that's number 4, right? And I have been tasked in this universe to create and educate. That is essentially number 5. So here's how many things I am allowed to commit to when I wake up in the morning, and I'd better make time for all of them or know what I'm prioritizing today to, so that the largest depreciating asset in my life, which is time, only touches these things. Well, Mitch, you could have 1 million businesses. Then you better only be doing one thing for 1 million businesses, right? Because out of all of those fingers I held up, only one of them is going to contribute money to help care for the others. And if that's the case, the amount of time I put into that one finger that's going to create the monetary value to care for everything else had better be what? Contributively high enough to make sure that the amount of time I invest in finger number 4, I could have made business finger number 3. That would have made for really great color commentary, right? Would have been great. Finger number 4, I had better make sure that the value of the money contributively is so high that what I can provide for the other 4 is enough to make up for the oops of me not being available, but also the amount of time I contribute in there doesn't dissuade me from coming away and putting value into these other 4 fingers. The average human being, and here's the neuroscience on it for a moment. Average human being can only task orient with a maximum of 5 to 9 things at any given time. And long term, we can only statistically hold on to between 5 and 9 things. And out of those big 5 or 9 things that we're looking at over months or quarters or years, guess what? That only breaks down to about 5 or 9 tasks at any given time. And the more things we pile into this bucket of spaces we have, so here's what 9 looks like. And if I can do a maximum of 5 to 9 in each one of these, what happens if I get 9 and 9? I got 81 things I got to try and take care of. How many hours in the day? How many do you, just think in your own head for a moment, how many do you sleep for a moment? How many do you sleep? I sleep about 5 or 5.5 hours, right? So I'm going to wipe out and I'm going to go down to 18.5 hours. And then I got to eat and I got to go to the bathroom and I got to do some other things. So I'm going to be down to about 16.5 hours, right? There we go. So if I have 9 things inside of 9 things in life, 81 things, I get 16 hours a day to sort that out. How much time is that for me to allot to each one of these things if I try and cram it all in together in one day? What happens when that happens to me? I've got nothing left. I got nothing to give. I've got nothing to build on. I've got no effort. I've got no outcome. I've got no result. I don't even have the opportunity to start here and end there. I don't have enough time to figure out what starting here and ending there should look like. This is why we create such tiny results for ourselves in our life, because we think that the more things and stuff we have to be busy with, the busier I feel while I bounce back and forth amongst things and stuff, clearly the more contributive value I'm going to get out the back end. In other words, I'm going to get another $50 so I can spread that around a number of places. Instead of being very honest and blunt with ourselves and saying that, no, I'm going to narrow this down. In fact, out of my 5 fingers right now, I have 9 total things that I got to focus on. And not all of them happen every day. It took me a long time to get to the moment where I could be honest enough with myself to do that. So I'm going to bring you back to your homework for a moment, and I'm going to give you the lessons total here because you've had them come at you in a big mess of words. So I'm going to summarize for you, okay? The value of money is limitless. The value of time is depreciating. It's shrinking, not growing. If you talked to yourself in 5 years or 15 years or 50 years, then how you earn on the limitless value of money and how you spend the depreciating amount of your time in 5 or 15 or 50 years, would you be proud of the decisions you made? If money is limitless and time is depreciating, it is always shrinking. In 5 or 15 or 50 years, would you be proud of how you spent both of those assets in your business, life, and the universe, and what they contributed to yourself, to the people around you, and the impact you could create on the universe? When you can write that homework to yourself in the future and realize future you would be proud of what you did with both of those things, then you know you're a good person. Until then, that's what you have to work on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.